Hi, thank you for joining us for the Mental Health Awareness Week at West Suffolk College. We are very lucky today to have Rio with us. Rio is going to talk to us a little bit about well-being, mental health, her job as a DJ, and all the things that she's involved in. We're really lucky and grateful to have her here with us today. Rio, over to you.
Thank you so much. Hi, it's honestly such a pleasure to be able to talk to you about mental health, especially because I feel very strongly about the thought of sharing my experiences. And I know in today's society, there's so much pressure, and it's especially in the current climate as well with Corona. There's been a lot of mental health cases, and it's all on the rise. So I feel like it's definitely a good time to speak about it. Um, as my experience with mental health was, I suffered with an eating disorder for about 10 years. And now, being on the flip side of it, I kind of look back at it and I'm like, well, what's the reason that it started? And for me, it was the belief that I wasn't enough and I wasn't good enough as I was. That's what I chose to believe about myself. And I thought that I'd be happier if I was different. And I feel like that it's the same for a lot of all of the different ways that mental health issues decide to present themselves, whether it's like through anxieties, through depression, through eating disorders, through addictions. That's essentially like the plaster. That's the coping mechanism of your body telling you that something's up. And it's usually the belief system, in my opinion, of not feeling like you're enough as you already are. So it's like something's out of balance, you know. So going through it, the way that I healed was keeping a very open mind about the fact that one day I wouldn't be experiencing what I was experiencing. I tried so many different therapies and alternative therapies, and went through the motions really. So, like I had hypnotherapy for years. I had counselling. I did the like meditation, the yoga, and I kind of kept an open mind about how I wanted to change. We've always with the insight of wanting to not go through what I was going through, if that makes sense. Um, and yeah, I think the moment that I really made a difference with what I was going through was the moment that I learned to talk about it open and honestly to my friends and the people I could trust. For so many years, what held me back was that it was my secret and that I couldn't speak about it, and I was scared to speak about it because I was scared of judgment. However, I realized I was the only one judging myself. As soon as I opened up about it, everyone was there to support me and kind of wanted to help. And that made me realize I was like, oh, okay, I can do this now, as opposed to keeping it inside. So I think it's really important that if you are ever struggling or if you are ever going through anything or you know people that are going through something, talk about it and be there. Be there to be able to openly and honestly speak about it. Um, it was a weird thing because I kind of felt like I was holding myself back because with my work and stuff, things felt like things were going good, but that's the only thing that I didn't know how to cope with. At the beginning, I felt like I was in control. So at the beginning, I was like, oh yeah, my way of wanting to change was to lose weight. The social pressures around that now, obviously, we've got Instagram, and there's always these feelings of feeling like, oh, I want to look like that, or I want that thing, or blah blah blah, and so it makes you feel like your life's not good enough. Um, so me wanting to get skinnier was my version of being like, I'll feel better when. So then I started that, and the bulimia came into play. And then I was like, oh, I'm in control of this. It will be fine. I've got this. You know, once I get skinnier, I'll stop. And that was the thought that kind of I believed. So I believed it wasn't a problem. And then it carried on, and kind of years slip away, and you're like, oh yeah, it's fine. And then it's the moment that you do actually decide that you want to stop, that you kind of get swept up with it. So yeah, my experience was just really keeping an open mind of all of the things that are out there, and they're out there for a reason, like the different types of therapy and stuff that you can go through, and keeping an open mind. I used to imagine most days I was like, who am I? Who is Rio without this coping mechanism? And what are the beliefs I want to have about myself? So my inner dialogue was very negative at times, you know. I used to put myself down a lot, and I feel like a lot of us are guilty of that. When we look in the mirror, we kind of look at the things that we don't like, or we look at life and the things that we don't have, and it was shifting that perspective of seeing myself and starting to change that inner dialogue and the inner workings of my mind to look at myself and be like, let's talk about all the things I'm grateful for, or let's talk about all the things that I do like about myself. And once you start getting into the habit of that, you become aware of your thoughts and you become aware of what's going on in there. And then you have the ability to change that. And that was definitely something that I worked with for a long time, and just really being aware of all of the things that I was putting it like out to myself. So instead of looking in the mirror and going, my thighs are too big, I go, you've got a great smile, you know? And it's just about altering those things and learning to love you, because you are so worthy and you are so enough right now. And I think we always as human beings have this thing of wanting to be different, but what I think we need to realize is that we are worthy in this moment. And yeah, I kind of want to open it up to questions, because I'd love to talk to people if they have any. How important is radio and music to maintaining good mental health? I think radio is such a beautiful thing to work in, because it helps a lot of people. We get a lot of lovely, beautiful messages about how the music's uplifting, and it's very good to be positive. And I try and make sure that I always put out good messages when I'm on air. Music is a very healing thing, in my opinion. So music can heal and make you feel good. You know, like if you put on your favorite song when you're feeling a little bit rubbish, it all automatically changes. So I think music's such a beautiful thing to incorporate in day-to-day life to make you feel good. I hope that answered the question. This is a great question. Do you have good tips to maintaining a good headspace during lockdown? So what I learned from the first lockdown, because I struggled a little bit with motivation. I felt a bit low. I kind of was like, when is this going to end? You know, I think we've all had the same kind of emotions to like, we've got nothing to look forward to. So this time around in the second lockdown, I made sure that I had a routine, and I promised myself I was going to stick to it, because we are in control of sticking to it as well. You know, it's easy to go, no, I can't be bothered today, but you've got to really make sure that you force yourself to stick to the routines that you promise yourself. So my routine is waking up. There's a meditation app called Serenity that I use. So it's like about a 10-minute meditation. It's really great for beginners as well, because it kind of guides you through it and stuff. And I consider myself as a beginner. I'm kind of in and out. But yeah, 10 minutes a day. Then I do 10-minute yoga. It's this thing on YouTube called Yoga with Cassandra. I've been trying to stick to goals, make sure I exercise, because exercise is so good for you mentally. Obviously, you get endorphins once you exercise. It makes you feel good. I've been trying to make sure I do that. Doing nice things, like wholesome things, learning how to cook new stuff if I've got more time on my hands. We've just ordered Gusto, which is like a meal prep thing. So that's really nice. We've been cooking together, me and my boyfriend. Yeah, my thing is routine, and it makes you feel good. Do the things that make you feel good, and make sure you push yourself to do them, even on the days that you do feel a little bit low, because 100% it will make you better. Do you think we are reliant on social media likes to build our view of our positive self-worth? Yeah, this is a great question. I believe, and I am guilty for it, for sitting and watching likes once I post something, and if it underachieves in comparison to my other posts, I'm like, no one's liking this picture. So I think we have become reliant on social media likes, which I feel like we do need to address as a society. Does that really matter? Does people that we might not even know liking our picture mean something to us when we really break it down? My answer is no, but it's kind of like this weird game, isn't it, with social media? Because we're playing a game essentially through it. Like, we post this, we get these many likes, this many comments. We feel popular. We should already feel like that without that. So maybe if you do feel like that, I'm saying advice that I need to take as well, by the way, but maybe it's about taking a break from social media and having your days off and having your digital detoxes. One weekend, just delete the app off your phone and take a break and realize that we are worthy. If that app never existed or never exists again, if it closes down, we are worthy in our human right now, you know, not because of the likes we get for our phone. But yeah, I need to take that advice. So thank you for asking that one as well. Do you think that there is good support available for those suffering with eating disorders and other conditions? My personal experience is I don't feel like there is good support available. Uh, I kind of when it first all started, and my family kind of realised what was going on, I got I went to the NHS basically, and I got put in like a unit that had to go every week and kind of talk to this woman about my eating disorder. And unfortunately, because I wasn't ready to change, I just used to lie about what was going on. But there was no kind of follow-ups. There was no, it was like they just believed everything I said, even though one of the side effects of having an eating disorder is like compulsive lying, because I was covering something up. So however, I feel like my friends, as soon as I mentioned it to my friends and my family, they were the best support that I had. I know it's really hard to do things like that. Like for me, it was a lot easier to tell my doctor than to tell my mum or my boyfriend. However, when I did take that step to tell him, my boyfriend and my loved ones, that's where the support came. I am going to start making a YouTube channel on my experiences with my eating disorder, and just highlight some of the things that really helped and the things that I feel like we could do better societally. Like on the internet, it's very textbook, like just stop making yourself sick. And I was like, yeah, but how do I do that? So I'm definitely going to do a lot of mini videos on my experience. So hopefully sharing some more tips that can help people if anyone is going through it. Where are we? How did I get into radio and TV? So I started. I wanted to be a presenter. Didn't know how to get into it, so I kind of was like in my social circles, being like, "Yeah, I'm going to be a presenter." Didn't have an idea around it, but once you start saying things and putting them out to the world, a friend of mine was like, "Oh, I know someone who works at Unilad. I don't know if you guys know like the big Facebook page." So then I had a meeting there, started doing funny videos for uni lads. Then from that, the videos get quite a lot of views. So then MTV saw me. I started working for MTV for a little bit. From MTV, then I got management, and management is like quite an important point in the presenting world, because otherwise I didn't have the connections myself. Got management, and then from there they got me a meeting with Capital. But if you are looking to get into radios, I would advise that most people didn't do it my way around. They kind of did the student radio, they did the smaller radio stations, got the experience, and then from there, the bigger radio stations are watching all of the smaller stations and the student radio stations. So I think that that's a really good transition into it. What? All right, where are we? Who has been a big influence in your life? Who's the big influence in my life? The biggest influence ever is my cousin, Tony. She's incredible. She's just a beautiful human being who's always been there for me, and I just really admire her love that she has to give. She's she's a vegan chef as well, so she's always cooking some beautiful food, so teaching me about how to nourish my body and get all the right vitamins in, and yeah, she's just a perfect human being in my eyes. What advice would you give anyone that wants to follow in your footsteps? My advice would be learn the skills, you know, learn all of the things. If you want to be a radio presenter or TV, is or a DJ, would be learn your craft, you know, learn what you want to do about it. Watch the people and listen to the people that you love that are already doing it, and find your style within that. Like, what is your unique selling point, essentially? Why would someone want to hire you for that job? What have you got to offer? So it's, for me, I think it's really about like knowing yourself and knowing the kind of message you want to put out. And then obviously with TV stuff, being comfortable in front of the camera is a great thing. It's so nice now that YouTube gives us that opportunity, and Instagram, to make our own platform. So if you do want to start presenting, give it a go, you know, think of something to talk about, and talk to your camera kind of thing, to get comfortable with that. Because a lot of the time when the camera comes out, a lot of people go, and I definitely did at first. I was like, oh yeah, I can do this. And then the camera's there and I'm like, yeah, about that. You know, you got to get really comfortable with that. Let me read the next question. Some people seem really positive on social, really enjoying lockdown. Yeah, never believe what you see on Instagram. No one will ever post their bad days. You only get your good days, you know. So if you are feeling low during lockdown, I promise you it's natural. I've been feeling it. A lot of my friends have been feeling it. But it's, again, people don't share that side of things. So don't compare yourself or your feelings to anything that you're seeing on Instagram, because that is just an extreme positive addition of someone's life. Whereas the realness is I think we're all struggling a little bit, not having our social lives and not being able to go and do the things that we want to do, not being able to see our friends. Like, that's hard hitting. So I think you've just got to make sure that you're okay and stick to the things that make you feel good. And again, like I said, if looking at other people's Instagram is making you feel worse, have some time away. It will always be there when you want to go back, but really make sure that you're okay as opposed to comparing to anyone else. What would you have done if you weren't in TV and radio? Do you know what? I don't know. I feel like maybe I would have been a teacher. I love kids. And I'd love to be able to teach kids, like, for the next steps of their life. I think that's really beautiful. And I've always wanted to, because of my experience with my eating disorder and the mental health stuff, I've always wanted to train to do something within that, whether it be a therapist or one day maybe open like my own rehab centre. I would love to do that and welcome people in and help people on their journeys to get over things. I think that's still a dream of mine. So hopefully one day I can fulfil that. How do you keep your mental health in check, and what pressures do you have in your day-to-day job? So keeping it in check, I make sure, as I said, I stick to these routines, stick to being aware of my thought patterns. And if I feel myself overworking, because I do that a lot, don't really know how to say no. So as soon as work comes in, I'm like, yeah, I'll take it. However, you need to rest. I forget that all the time. Really need to rest to make sure that you've got a clear head for whatever you're doing. And as I said earlier, meditation really helps me. It really just helps me set the tone for the day, and again, be able to sit with my thoughts in a nice, quiet way. I always find as well that I struggle when I'm on my own too much. So, like in lockdown, at the first lockdown, I didn't want to speak to anyone, and it was a weird feeling. I just kind of felt a little bit flat. Whereas now I feel like making the effort to call your friends and stay and family, check in, stay positive, you know, that would be my advice for that. And the pressures in my job, the pressures are really, if you don't feel good, I have to do my job, and you can't really come across like that. So it's for me, it's very important before I go to work. If I am feeling in a bad mood, I kind of sit and have to go through that mood and wonder where it's coming from, to try and figure it out, so that when I do get to work, I can be positive and I can be uplifting, like I love to be when I'm at work, you know. So yeah, really just being aware of what's going on and why I'm feeling a certain way. Should more be done to support young adults with their mental health? I believe there should be much more done to help young adults with their mental health. What that is, I don't know, but I definitely think support groups are a beautiful thing. I really want to start kind of like at the moment, obviously on Zoom. I want to start something with my girlfriends, to talk to them and open up a space where we can all be honest with things that we're going through. So they're like kind of us all with, if we're experiencing anything that doesn't feel nice, if we're struggling with our mental health, if we're not feeling good about something, I want to try and open up a space where we can talk about that openly and honestly. So if you do have friends that you feel comfortable doing that with, then I think it would be a really good idea to kind of talk about that stuff, you know, on a weekly basis. All get together and share your experiences, share if you're feeling good, share if you're feeling bad, and make sure that that's all welcome. I need to look into what is going on and what the government and different organisations are doing for young people's mental health, because I don't know much on that right now. But I always feel like more could be done. I think it's very important for people, especially like people that I work with and stuff, to start sharing their experiences online. I try to as much as I can, but I definitely want to do that more, you know, to to help inspire or to just relate to people what they're going through. Maybe it's about time that we do share the bad days on Instagram. You know, maybe then we wouldn't all feel so negative about what's going on when things are bad. Can social media platforms do more to raise awareness around mental health and eating disorders? Yes, I think they can. I think also what I found is I've started to unfollow the pages that maybe don't make me feel so good. So what doesn't make me feel good? If I'm always just seeing pictures of these bronze Amazonian goddess models on a day-to-day basis, because of the comparing thing, you start then going, why don't I look like that? Or why is my life not like that? So I've started to unfollow people like that kind of I don't relate to. And I've started to follow more of the body positive people and the accounts that make me feel good on a daily basis. What one? Body Positive Panda, I think that's her name. She's great. There's a woman called M. Clarkson who's also great, who kind of like pulls the diet industry apart because of my background with mental health. I follow a lot of body positive people. Yeah, but I think it's making your feed inspire you as opposed to make you not feel good about yourself. That's definitely something I'm doing. There's a really, really good page that does that for me at the moment called Pasta Grannies, and it's old Italian women making pasta, and that makes me feel good. Let me have a look. What age were you when you really realised you were suffering from an eating disorder? When I finally realised I was dealing with an eating disorder was when I was 17. It started at 15. And like I said, I thought I was in control. I didn't think it was a problem. And then at 17, I kind of had a mental breakdown about it all and really realised something was wrong. Like, I felt horrible. I felt really dark. I felt suicidal. I felt like there was no way out of what I was going through. And that is the moment that I reached out and asked for help. I kind of admitted to my mum and dad's, and that's when I went to the doctors, and we kind of worked from there. And do I feel that peer pressure was a factor? I feel that not being accepted, when I was at school, I got bullied pretty bad in secondary school. And I felt like, because of that, I felt like people didn't like me and that I wasn't enough and that people didn't want to be my friends. So then I thought that it was my problem, you know, and then it kind of started from that. I think that was definitely a factor within it. So the peer pressure was, yeah, you could say that. I feel like peer pressure was a thing, but not necessarily to take me directly to the eating disorder, but the peer pressure around me of making me not feel good about myself was obviously then what manifested itself as an eating disorder. What has been your biggest challenge in lockdown? What have you missed the most? My biggest challenge in lockdown has just been seeing my friends and socialising. I'm a massive hugger, so I love to give my friends hugs and be able to go and enjoy time with them. And I think not having that has been my biggest challenge for sure. Any advice for dealing with trolling and negativity online? Block the person. You have the power to completely block it. And the thing is, when people are trolling and when people are not nice to you, it's not usually about you. It's probably because they're going through something and it's just reacting in that way. When we say words and when we say things to each other, it's usually mirroring how we feel inside. So if I say something really nasty to you, that's not because of you. That's because about how I'm feeling inside. If I say something really nice to you, it's usually because I'm feeling really good, you know. But trolling comes from a place of insecurity in the person that's trolling, not the person that they are trolling. So it's usually got nothing to do with actually you. It's the person, whatever they're going through, their own personal battles. But my advice would be just block it. If it's not making you feel good, you really don't need it in your life. Let me read this question. There's some story about young people spending 10, 11, 12 hours a day on TikTok. What's your views on this? And do you feel there should be mandatory time limiting tools on such apps? Yes, I do. I think, because the thing is, when we live on our phone, we're living through a virtual world. It's kind of almost not real. What happened if that all went and that's all you know? Like these kids that have got like thousands and thousands of TikTok followers, they're using that as their kind of worth in life. However, they're so obsessed with that. And I mean, yeah, it's fun and it's a great hobby to have. However, what happens if that app disappeared? You know, where would that leave people? So I think it should definitely be mandatory to like not be able to spend more than, I don't know, maybe 2 hours a day. And I think that's even still pretty intense. But I definitely don't feel like we should be able to just have unlimited time on these things. Because I don't know about you, but I don't really use TikTok. I use more Instagram. And sometimes I've got my phone in my hand and I'm literally scrolling. I'm not even looking at anything. I don't even know what I've seen. So it's like times like that, I'm aimlessly scrolling. I'm like, yeah, you need to just put the phone down. I think that's important for everyone to kind of realize sometimes, like, yeah, we don't need to be doing this. You know, let's go and take a walk or do something, watch a video where we learn, you know, or do some activity, move your body. I think it's really important that we limit the time we use on these devices. Start. The one key message is don't judge yourself if you're ever feeling low. Give yourself, I always say to myself, what would love do in a situation where I'm feeling down and I'm feeling not good enough? I'm like, how would love react to how I'm feeling? Love would probably just give themselves a cuddle, you know, and tell them that everything's going to be all right, because it is always going to be okay. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to admit that what you're going through, if anything, it's completely okay. And sometimes it's not really our fault of why we experience these things, but when you share and when you're open with it, people might have advice to help you, or they might just be there to listen. And that in itself, once you talk about something, a problem in your head is 1,000 times bigger than when you actually let it out. And it's kind of like you release that energy from your body once you said it to the world, you know. And yeah, and if you are going through anything, hang on in there. There is so much hope. Have hope that you will get through the tough times. I feel like I'm living proof that can happen, because for years, at my lowest points, I never thought that it wouldn't be in my life anymore. And here I am today without an eating disorder, and that feels great. So yeah, have hope, and there's always a way out. So that would be my key message, I think. Don't think there's any more questions. If any more, they're all welcome.
I think Maddie might just be bringing a couple more questions in for us, Rio. My question, though, was, do you think we should start to talk to children at a younger age about their mental health, so that we prepare them, so when they're young adults, they've got more tools, more ability to deal with these?
Yeah, I believe that there definitely should be more open conversation about it. And I think, especially with young children, I feel like meditation and kind of like journaling and being honest with your feelings should come in super young, because it gives people that scope and the tools that if they do ever go through it in later life, they already know the tools that they can use to kind of help themselves. So I think it's definitely important to talk about it, and then also talk about different solutions and possibilities of getting over it, you know, and getting through those times. Because I remember when I was looking for, when for me the NHS didn't work and going to see a specialist in my field, it didn't work, because I didn't feel like I was getting through anything. It was kind of black and white, like have a food log and then tell me. But obviously I can make up whatever I want. It wasn't actually a tool of me breaking through that feeling of not feeling enough. Whereas when I looked into like the alternative therapies and the hypnotherapies and stuff, those for me gave me tools to actually release what was going on, if that makes sense. So I think, yeah, really, really important to share all of the tools to get over it as well from a young age. We have some more questions. Winter is coming and the days are already shorter. What tips do you have for helping those with seasonal affective disorders? So I think it's definitely our moods and our emotions should change with the seasons. So in winter, it is a time for hibernation, and maybe learning those skills to hibernate, like the whole cooking thing, or just finding hobbies that you can do within your house. Obviously movies are a great thing. Make sure you're keeping social and you're keeping these Zoom calls alive. I know it's a new way of being, isn't it? But it does make you feel better. A nice conversation with friends, getting into a routine, because I know how easy it is to slip into the fact, like if it's raining and miserable outside and it's going to be dark by 4 o'clock, the motivation in my mind is like, I literally could just sit in bed and put Netflix on my laptop. However, I know that that's not going to make me feel good. Some days it does, but there's times if you've got things to do, it's like get that to-do list written out and tick things off and just stay motivated. And maybe get a friend to do things like that with you so you can hold each other accountable. So it's like, oh, what you got to do today? Yeah, this is my list. I've done all of this, blah, blah, blah. And it's kind of like checking in with yourself and checking in with your friends to make sure you stay above board. But definitely stay social. Definitely stay social and curious to learn new things. Any advice for dealing with bullies at school? Oh, it's such a tough one. It's the most rubbish experience having people bully you. As I said earlier about the trolling thing, the reason that people bully you is probably because they feel uncomfortable with themselves. So they're probably going through insecurities, and the way that they're choosing to deal with it is take it out on you. Why that is, I don't know. My thing was, I think I used to be too nice, and I used to be kind of sit on the fence that, like, if anyone said something to me, I'd be like, I would apologize almost for them being mean to me. So I was an easy target because they felt like they could say things to me and there would be no comeuppance, I suppose. But yeah, it's usually because they're not happy in themselves. But definitely talk to people about it. Talk to people that can actually change it, and distance yourself from any kind of people that don't make you feel good, because you really don't need that in your life. Like, life throws enough hurdles. You definitely don't need other people being the problem, you know.
Oh, here you go. Tea or coffee? Very important question.
Coffee. I like both, but probably I drink coffee way more than tea. Pringles or Doritos? Doritos. There's no question about that, mate. Flaming hot ones. Ah, that's lovely. Thank you, guys. Ready salted or salted vinegar? Salt and vinegar.
I think Danny might be thinking about his lunch.
Someone's hungry. I mean, it's 12:15. It's about time.
Rio, I think that is all the questions. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for your honesty and for answering all the questions that our students have thrown at you.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, if anyone does think of anything that they want to ask me, feel free to message me on Instagram or something, and I'll definitely answer. So
Thank you so
guys.
much, and hopefully next year you'll visit us in person.
I would love that. I'd love to actually come and see everyone. That would be great.
That would be amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye, guys. Have a lovely weekend. Bye.